Welcome, everybody. I am unmuting some microphones and going to be introducing some guests here in just a second. Thank you, everyone, for being here for our Isle of Dread preview on twitch.tv/DDO stream. For this last half hour, I thought we would bring on Tolero and Severlin, give the community a chance to do a little bit of Q&A about Isle of Dread and or really kind of whatever's on your mind. And we'll just sort of wrap up the preview here for today with just a chance to do some general Q&A. So let me introduce people to start with. Thank you so much, Severlin, for being with us here today.
What's going on?
And thank you very much, Tolero, for being with us as well.
Yeah, good to be here.
Now, I know that you've got a producer's letter in the works here in the coming weeks, so it's going to be a few weeks yet, but I know that that's on your radar as something you want to do. So in terms of maybe more about what will be happening after Isle of Dread, I think some of the community is going to need to wait until that letter, I think, when we announce a little bit about that.
Yeah, definitely. So, we're trying to get in the groove of having the producers' letters, kind of at a intermittent pace so that you see them more than just once a year. So this will be the next one for this calendar year, and we'll be looking forward to telling you about what's coming.
Now that you've had a chance to look at Isle of Dread, in recent days and that, what are you most looking forward to seeing the players see?
Oh, for the Isle of Dread?
Uh-huh.
I'd like to see the landscape. It's very different because we have more powerful creatures on it. And so I think it's going to encourage players to go into the landscape as groups, to go dinosaur stomping. That's kind of new, and I'm anxious to see how that works. Obviously, all the content. Also, the landscape, in my opinion, just looks great. They've done a great job with it. There are dinosaurs roaming around. It was really satisfying to see some of the streamers encounter various creatures for the first time. So I think that would be... all of that is going to be super cool, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of it.
Great. And so this next week is really us getting the build out the door. So in terms of the what we'll be doing in the coming days, this is Friday, of course, so Monday, Tuesday, and then theoretically Wednesday. We're aiming to try to go live. So
yeah. Go ahead.
No, just the lead up to expansions. There's a lot of those last little bits and lines and riggings that we're taking on before we go out the door. And so for a lot of us, it's going back through, making double sure that a specific. We get a lot of feedback from rounds of Lamania, and so going back through, making sure, okay, we fixed this that they found. Did that make it in? Okay, great. And so that takes a lot of effort, and then pulling it all together. So we're excited.
I'm going to play some of the wilderness area that some people saw earlier here, but for those who are just joining us, this is a little bit of a look at the Isle of Dread itself. Let's take some general Q&A. This is a chance for you folks in Twitch to ask us some questions. So if there is something on your mind that you want to ask about, just shoot it at us. We'll see what we can do. The bonus for the weekend, we have got a 50% crafting XP boost. I could hint a bit as well that we are planning to do a couple of boosts for next week to help celebrate the Isle of Dread. So I think maybe we shouldn't get too much more into detail than that, but there we are. All right. I'm going to ask you this question, Seven, or Tolero, if you feel like you want to answer it. Reaper update, ? What are our plans for Reaper? Do we have any thoughts on that we want to talk about?
Sure. I do really. My only issue about talking about Reaper is that it's not Isle of Dread, so I have no problem with talking about it, but sometimes when we talk about something, it gets confused, that people think it's upcoming. So if we talk about Reaper, that's fine, but it's not coming with Isle of Dread. It's coming at some future date.
Yeah.
But one of the things that's happening with Reaper is that players are sort of becoming, the people who are heavy into the Reaper trees are way ahead, and we want to have methods of solving that. Giving more Reaper progression, but narrowing the gap between the people coming into the game and the people that have been doing Reaper for a while. And there's been some discussion back and forth on how to do that. And I don't want to go into the absolute details, but one of the things that we're talking about is that when you group with someone at high Reaper, some of that power kind of gets put onto the people that you group with. That way, if you find someone that is has a lot of Reaper progression, you get some of it. So it's not you don't feel as much of a liability when you do that. So those are some of the things that we're talking about. In addition, the Reaper trees are heavy on the server, so we'll probably simplify the system and have like a Reaper level instead that you progress through, rather than trees, is another thing that we've been talking about. Because obviously lag is something that we're all looking into and trying to reduce. I think we made some good progress on it, and then we had a whole bunch of players come back from the pre-release, and the increased activity in the servers, increased lag a bit, and so it seemed like a step backwards. We have some good leads on some stuff that we want to do, but overall things have been challenging between working on that and some hardware failures that have caused problems and some DNS failures that have caused problems. It's been a rough week, and between that and the CS backups that we're working through, but it's always a challenging, especially if a hardware failure causes this. There's been a lot of concern from the players, and I think that working through those problems is one of the things that has been very challenging leading up to Isla. So all of these things are things that we're working on.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm bringing it up is that some of the Reaper changes will directly work into the player feedback that we've gotten on the system.
Yeah. All right. We have a question in chat about what is the long-term plan for our legendary levels as we go through the level cap increase. I don't know that we want to actually put an end date as to when we're hitting level 40, but what do you see the process, either you, Tolero, or Sev, or whoever wants to answer it? Who feels comfortable maybe giving at least some sense of what are we looking at here about our path to 40?
I can talk to it, or Tolero can.
Talk a bit about it. Yeah, I can talk a bit about it.
Go for it.
So the things we're thinking through is one of the things we're talking about is how fast we would or wouldn't want it to be happening. A big part of that's going to be watching how people play through Dread, because it's been a long time since we had a level cap increase, and so with Dread we got 2 levels, and we want to see how people digest those 2 levels, and then based on that, that'll sort of set the pace. Like, one thing we don't want to do is we don't want to load everybody up all the way to 40 like instantly. We want this to be a thing that comes intermittently. And the other thing that we're looking at is how it'll interface with reincarnation, because that's going to be also super important. We're trying to set it up such that until it's time to start doing legendary reincarnations, that you don't feel like your effort is like wasted as you're playing in the epic, in the up to 30, going up to 30, and then you're doing 30 to 32. We want you to feel like you're still making progress and that things feel good. And then once legendary reincarnation comes, that feels like a natural, okay, now I'm ready to begin my legendary part of the journey. And then how does the legendary part of the journey dovetail into, the full DDO character journey? So
yeah, and I think we've seen
that's
here,
where we're looking.
And I think we've seen here today with some of the discussion as well that there's a lot of content that needs to support, say, a level cap increase as well. So we want to make sure that as we're going up in levels, we've got, a breadth and variety of content to help support it, and the systems work, that people also have been talking about as well. So, it's not just a matter of being able to hit the next number as soon as people hit the old cap or something like that. So I think we want to not really get into detail about how long it's going to take. I don't know that we want to commit ourselves at this point, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
Yeah.
All right. As a follow-up, as I'm seeing pictures come by, someone commented to rewarding people who don't have as many points in Reaper. I wouldn't say that, because you still can't solo it. So if someone has a lot of points in Reaper and they're their party leader and you join, we'd like a system that you get some of that power first. Mm-hmm. But as soon as you stop grouping, it's not like you can run into Reaper and do the same heroic deeds without their leadership. So I don't necessarily know that system is. I don't know if it's really fair for people to ding us saying, well, that's rewarding people who don't have Reaper. It's letting them participate as soon as they're on their own. Then, like they're going to be at lower level Reaper, if any, again, when they're doing that. Also, I think it'll improve grouping. We always want to improve grouping so that people can go in and have a reason to group. So if you're sort of have a lot of Reaper points, bringing someone on isn't as onerous, but also if you don't have a lot of Reaper points, you get a big boost when you're grouping that you do.
All right. We have got this gets peppered in pretty much consistently in the live stream, so let's just ask it here. What about, like, say, more cosmetic storage? What do we want to do for bags and storage space here?
One of the things that we wanted to get in is more character storage. We're revamping the character storage eventually, and we wanted to get that in for Dread, unfortunately. So I kind of want to explain the difference. Behind the scenes, there's two kinds of items. There's an item that's static and never changes. And because that can be represented with a very small amount of data, it's very easy to make bags. So, for instance, things like filigree. Then there are items that actually can change in the game and do change in various ways. There's a lot of your gear that you can add augments to, or it can have random effects. Because these can't be represented by just a small amount of data, you have to have a large amount of data, and you have to basically store all of the data that's changed. Those can't go into bags, because once they go into bags, all that extra data would potentially be lost. And the reason that cosmetic storage is so hard is that we take items and add data to make them cosmetic, which means they're one of the big items, which means we can't put them in the bag. So one of the reasons we're eager to get the character space done is once we prove out that system, the character space revamp can have big items, not just small ones. And we would have a wardrobe part of character space that you could dump your wardrobe items into specifically would be a possibility once that system goes into place, if that makes sense. But that's why it's not as simple as having a straight bag.
We're also trying to, you'll start to experience it now, right, when you talk to the Isle of Dread NPC with people that are getting cosmetics during these as part of their expansion purchase. In the past, it used to be that we would stick a little token on you, you'd crack that open, and it would spray a whole array of all your goodies inside. Well, then the trick is, you're like, well, I've got, my cosmetics from Feywild and my cosmetics from Dread and my cosmetics from Saltmarsh, and I don't necessarily want to get rid of them because what if I'm going to want them again? And so we were like, or how about we just not force it into your inventory in the first place? So we started making NPCs where whenever you want the cosmetic from that set, you just go and talk to the NPC. So technically, you're not even the one storing it. The NPC is basically holding on to it for you. And we've talked about whether we can then go backwards, look at some of the older expansions, even though this will be a habit that we do going forward, as long as this keeps working pretty well for people. We've even talked about, can we go backwards and look at some of the older expansions like Ravenloft or things, and sort of retrofit an NPC there to try to help people too. So We're sort of trying to be smart. What we don't want is for people to feel like, oh, I'm getting the cosmetics, but I'm so constrained. Like, if I get all the ones that I want, I can't actually fit them all. And so we're trying to find techniques that we can implement that will help ease that, because cosmetics are fun. We want you to have lots of them. We want you to have, your character look the way that you want it to look, change it up however you want to in the course of your gameplay. And that's only possible if we're sort of reimagining how we have you store this stuff.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So, any thoughts about? I see it. Let's just, in more general terms, rather than maybe the specific one about guild buffs beyond level 150. What do we want to? What are we thinking about re-guilds?
We want to add a lot to guilds. Here's the too long didn't read version, right? Guilds. When we change guilds, it will take a lot of engineering resources. We are trying to hire engineers and are doing so. When that process is complete, and it's almost complete, we will have more engineering resources to work on all of the guild things that we want to work on. That has been the whole. While we are still working on our lag passes, which we've done some stuff, because we have increased our tooling so that we can see where the pitch is. And we are continuing to do that. And that's one of the things the players can't see. When our engineers are creating tools to watch lag, the players can't see that, but we're slowly working on that. So the guild requires engineering as much as it does systems, and that's why it's fallen behind where we want to be in terms of the guild. However, we have the good news is that we have the new engineer is a big DDO fan. They haven't even started yet, so be patient because we have 15 years of code that they're going to have to come up to speed on. But like we do have new engineering stuff. We will have more freedom to do things like guilds. So that's something that I'm super excited about.
All right. Someone in chat is saying, I have now seen 3 Isle of Dread posters in the backgrounds of various SSG employees, so I think we've been busted. We printed out some Isle of Dread awesome key art, sort of screen prints for us employees here as sort of a thank you for Isle of Dread.
They're not even posters.
Yeah, they're screen prints. They're even better than posters.
I almost put mine up. I was like, oh, my wall is so blank.
Yeah, shiny and new.
Yeah, how cool is that, huh? There's going to be one back here for sure at some point. I just have to get to the office first. So, there we go.
Yeah, my Dread hype thing that I brought for the stream today is my amazing dinosaur-shaped taco holders.
Oh, nice!
So
taco
when
holders.
Dread, right? They hold. I have a T-Rex, I have a Triceratops, and I also have a Raptor, and they're just the right size to hold tacos or hot dogs or any sort of things of that nature. But you can just put them in, and then it makes it a little easier to not have it land all over the plate. But this is what I'll be doing for lunch on Dread Launch Day.
I don't know if any extraneous audio is being picked up from my mic. If you've heard some weird bangs and such at recent minutes, I was actually like, what is going on? But it looks like I am actually experiencing a thunderstorm.
Oh.
I am now looking outside my window and seeing a wall of rain and such, and it's really windy. So if you're hearing something getting picked up on the mic, or if all of a sudden I go blank, I probably lost power here. But hopefully that won't happen. So
yeah, it hasn't reached here yet.
Yeah, it will be. It will
soon.
Be. Yeah. All right. So when can other people buy physical goodies? The answer, we've answered this before, but it's a very difficult thing for us to be able to offer any kind of physical merchandise. So we can do it for employees, and we can do it for like conventions. So we have printed off some T-shirts and that. But a formal go to a website, buy a T-shirt is not something we currently have the ability to do. I don't quite know what the producer's letter is looking like at this point.
It's in the early what do we want to talk about phase, where sort of
so
the way
I don't know
tend to approach it is by topic, and then I'll get into the minutia.
What we will be talking about, at least a couple of things that I know that are happening in the near future. So what is the plan? Let's just say everything's going great. Isle of Dread is out next week. Everything's going good. We will have a Lamania for the raid here to give people an opportunity to take a look at that. And that'll be in the coming weeks, as I understand it. And then we're set to, assuming Lamania and everything works out, then bring out the raid in a relatively short fashion after Isle of Dread. It is going to be a couple of weeks at least, but something, in a relatively nearish time frame beyond that is our hope to get out the raid as well. And then after that, we do have Hardcore Season 6. That was in your last producer's letter, and that's going to be happening in the near future. Do we want to break any news on that? Do we feel comfortable breaking any news on Season 6?
I know it's so tricky because, when I do producers' letters, they always are sort of a brief look back for anybody that hasn't been around. Maybe they're coming back, haven't heard about what's going on. It just kind of gives them a nice catch up, and then look forward at what's kind of in the near term. And so then each time I reveal a thing on like a stream like this or something, then it's like, oh, that's one more thing that's not exciting news in the producers' letter now. So
we could say it'll be in the next couple of months, though. That we can definitely say.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Oh, have we told them the theme? We could tell them the theme if we haven't done that yet.
We have not.
I'd say that for your producers.
All right.
Okay. You got to save some stuff. You can't spill everything here.
Yeah.
So a couple of random stuff. Yes, with the ED revamp, the team is fully aware that they would love to do more ED. So it is likely in the future you will see additional EDs that support some of the other classes. That's the whole point of revamping it is so that it would be easier.
I saw someone bring up Archmage a couple of times in chat too. That is something I know is on their list of things to work on. I've seen them do some discussions like with the Players Council about specific Archmage feedback, but it just has to fit into the schedule, really, I think.
Yeah, one of the hard things about doing an expansion is that like a lot of the quality of life stuff, like Archmage stuff, gets kind of put on hold as they're trying to put in exciting new stuff, dinosaurs, new creatures.
And the dinosaurs themselves, like it actually takes a lot of work to bring in a brand new monster because sometimes what we're trying to do is take the existing sort of skeletons and rudimentary animations and sort of how can we reinvent this? Like if you ever compare like a Sahago to a bearded devil, if you're really paying attention, it's like, oh, wait a minute, these kind of have the same posture. They kind of have a few movements that are really similar and etc. But sometimes when we're like, you know what? We need a quadruped that has a slappy tail. Okay, now we got to actually build that out. And then once we build that out, now we have to think about what other animations is it going to need to support that anatomy. And so there's a lot of work that goes into whole new body shapes of monsters. And with the dinosaurs, there was a lot of them. Now, the good news is getting all those different body shapes means we can be using those body shapes for future other cool monsters. So that is nice. But we had a lot of variety in the dinosaur bodies this time, and it's taken a lot of work to get them situated and feeling good.
There was a question that came up earlier in chat that I needed to wait till I got a confirmation from someone specifically who worked on it, and that is the cap for Slayers in the Isle of Dread Wilderness area is 7,500, 7,500. So there you go on that one. Universal enhancement trees. We didn't include a universal enhancement in this expansion. We have, Tabaxi and the Tabaxi racial tree and such, but not a universal one this time. And we're not done with universals, though. It just didn't fit into this.
Not at all. It's just we don't want to become so. The desire for universal enhancement tree did not seem as high as it was in the past because we have a lot of it. The other thing is we'll be doing some interesting things with alternative type of class thing that we don't want to discuss later in the year. So for you build masters that are looking for new options, I think that you'll see that this year. So I'm not that concerned. If you're worried about like, hey, the meta's getting stale, I think that you're going to be pleasantly surprised later in the year with some stuff more.
We have to ask if you can't have like a big dinosaur focused expansion without going the route of what's our favorite dinosaur?
I like the Brontosaurus.
I refuse.
What?
That crap question, like asking who's your favorite child.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Brontosaurus. I like Brontosauri.
So I want to talk a little bit. We understand your frustrations on the customer service queue. I'd like to say that we put extra resources on it, and the customer service queue has come down quite a bit. But if you're one of the older, harder to deal with tickets, like you lost things or there's a fraud issue, we can't just bang through that quick. But we are getting to them. But we are not where we want to be in customer service. Even though it's much better, there's still a back queue. Also, unfortunately, we've seen some anecdotal people saying that like their tickets were closed without being addressed. So if that's happening, just ping us or let us know so that we can sort of get that. I know none of us are happy about the support ticket thing. There's some stuff behind the scenes that we're trying hard and that helped cause it, and we are working on it. I know it's hard to see. If you're one of the hard to do tickets because you lost something in reincarnation or there was an account, like your account got hacked or something, I know it's hard to see me say to you, oh, our support queues are slowly going down and we've really seen progress, because you're probably one of the people that can't be helped as quick. But we are working on it. We have put more people on and we are hiring in that way. So I apologize for your frustration.
All right, so thank you, everyone, for joining us here for this Isle of Dread preview on twitch.tv/DDO stream. Archives of this will be going up later today on YouTube and Facebook. The full archive is going to stay here on Twitch as well. We want to thank everyone for joining us here today, and hope you look forward to Isle of Dread. You can find out more on DDO.com. We've got a whole bunch of articles up, and stay tuned for some downtime, of course. next week as we get ready to actually bring this thing to you. So thank you everyone for being here today. We're going to call it a day. Have a good one. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.